Well, I tried to stop the best that I could for that last one, but it was not a possibility. So, as I was talking about, the Native American dance is kind of like the Irish dance and the African dance put together. Either which way, when you fall into the motion of the flow, you get to connect with all of these lifetimes and mind streams that are all of these amazing and different dances. And all of these different dances bring through different coding that helps different parts of the world in different ways. How are you to know which coding and which weaving needs to happen for any which moment? Now, that'll be very difficult to do. Eventually, you're going to do dances that are not seen within any culture. Eventually, you're going to do dances that may be seen within cultures but have never been spoken about, have never been shown about, have only been held secret as they are really afraid of what would happen if these kinds of knowledges get into the hands of others, what they would possibly do with these kinds of things. But coming from a place of heart, I don't see it possible for us to really do anything of negative with these kinds of things because you really have to be in the heart. You have to understand and surrender. There were people that saw people doing these things back in the day and they were unable to do these things themselves. And I'm here to explain to you why. And it really just takes a heart centering. Now, you can't come into the heart without a true intention. You cannot come into the heart without actually authentically being the frequency of the heart. And now that means you have to clear all the different things within your consciousness to allow this to occur. Now, some people will say this is impossible and they'll revolt against the heart, saying, how dare you keep your secrets away from me? They'll do all kinds of different things, being all upset with something else, but it's really nothing else that they're upset with, it is themselves. So we can humble ourselves, we can come into surrender, and this is something that can happen very quickly. That's another reason why I like to talk about psychedelic medicine, because for me, it was impossible to come to these certain places with the type of mind that I had to be able to understand all of these things that I understand and embody daily. So you see, I don't have to take medicine now. I don't need any of those things right now. I am constantly the endless channel of this limitless energy expression. But there's also times when it calls for me to go back into ceremony and open up frequencies that are of the transcendental nature, of a really high form and fashion, and then return myself to a place where I'm able to relate with this plane instead of leave this plane every time I wish to do that. Because it's very difficult to slow yourself back down, but it's also very difficult to rise yourself up in a steady rate of speed and a very fast rate of acceleration. It's very difficult. Now, this is not impossible, but with the help of these amazing teachers, these bridges, we can do this very quickly, very effortlessly, and this is an energy that is really beneficial for bringing these kinds of things upon ourselves. Now, you may be saying, well, what about this, what about that? Well, if I was supposed to rise in frequency right now in this moment and do something extremely transcendental, then this would happen. I would release all of these things on my own, all of my receptors would be doing these things on their own, and all of these things would be coming through on their own. Of course, this is not something that wants to be happening at this time, as I'm moving up in a completely balanced fashion in a different form. And also, I'm here to bring to you the teachings of the medicine ceremonies, because these are things that can help bridge gaps within us when we set the proper intention, that can bring people lifetimes ahead of themselves instead of causing them to have to be within meditation for many, 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 many years. We're talking about rapid rates of acceleration, and it's not as if you're accelerating past where you currently are. It's simply breaking down all of the walls of where you think you are to show you where you really are. And that's a really amazing blessing, I have to say. So I'm very glad to bring these things to you today and talk to you a lot about the breath, about the motion, about how all the body is working together to create this motion, to create this movement, to create this balanced expression that's coming through. Any way that you stand, any way that you're positioned, this is saying something about your energy body. And this is the reason why it is very difficult to lie to somebody who has a strong intuition, as they're not listening to your words exactly. They are, because this is a breath pattern, this is a tone, this is a fashion. You can tell where it's coming from, actually. It's like, oh, his voice is coming from here, his voice is coming from here, his voice is coming from here, his coming from here. Oh, I can tell that he's thinking here, and then his voice is occurring. I can tell where all this thing's at. Oh, look at all this stuff happening here, and then boom, here it comes here. And then Oh wait, what? Let me see this posturing. He's standing like this. 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 You know, you can tell based on all of these things what somebody's saying, and if they're telling you the truth, if they're not telling you the truth, if they're creating something, if they're not creating something, what their intention is, if they're trying to hurt you, if they're trying to be your friend, what is occurring. You can tell all of these amazing things, and it's really phenomenal that this can happen. So this is the language of no words. The heart language is, as I'm saying, unless you match the frequency of the heart, you cannot enter the heart. And the heart is unconditional love for all beings everywhere without one exception. It has unconditional love for all beings everywhere without one exception. It is zero judgment on anything within itself. It loves all of itself unconditionally. It loves it whether or not it ever comes into harmony again. It doesn't matter if it ever changes. It loves it completely, wholly, as perfection, just as it is. It may want to apologize for the way in which it's hurt something to cause it to be that way. It may want to ask for forgiveness. It may not require to be itself to be forgiven. It may ask for forgiveness, and it's okay if you don't forgive me, you know? And it may just wish to unconditionally forgive everything. I forgive everything, and in fact, I'm grateful for everything. Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry myself. Please forgive me. I love you dearly, forever and always, unconditionally. If this be not true in me, let it be made true in me. All of these things. Very sweet, very gentle, very humble, very much always wishing to be in harmony. Even if something else doesn't wish to be in harmony with it, it would just make the arrangements. Just like, okay, as much as you like, whatever it is, I'm here for you, always and forever. Please forgive me, and I understand. It may even surrender itself to something. Like, okay, well, I'm with you no matter what. Even if you kill me, I'm going to love you no matter what. I give myself to you fully. Now this is something that would seem like, oh no, don't do this. I understand it's a very scary expression. I myself have embodied these expressions in my life, and it has been something that I felt this great fear behind, but I also just knew that I must love myself in this way. I must trust in this way. I must surrender myself in this way. And when surrendering myself fully in these kinds of manners, I've always found myself to be greatly gifted and blessed. When I thought, I want to give this person all of my energy, and then I thought, oh no, but if I do that, then I'll be gone. Then I was like, just give it anyway. You know what, whatever. Give them so much of your love, so much of your energy, that they expand so fast and so quickly that they're fully liberated. And even if this does nothing for you, allow it to perhaps liberate all other beings, or whatever it does. If they are liberated, then they'll be the Buddha. And so if they are the Buddha, then this would help everything. If one person could just be the Buddha, everything would be greatly helped. Even if I thought that I was not, somehow it would help me as well. And if I went away forever in order to make that occur, for the benefit that it would have for all other beings, then that would be worth it. And so I've given all of my energy, only to find myself to be a limitless reservoir. What I thought was my limit, my capacity, what I thought was giving my all, there was so much more than that just resting behind that wall. And that's an amazing thing. So we can just give and give and give and give and give. And in doing so, we just fill ourselves with more and more and more and more and more. Eventually you start to see, wow, the more I give, the more I receive. And you find out that giving is receiving is giving. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. The more I give, the more I receive. The more I receive, the more I have to give. Giving literally is receiving. I don't even need to worry about receiving. The more I give, I am receiving. This is amazing. It's happening at the same time. And now you're a toroidal field generator, a free energy generator. And all of these things are just happening on their own. You're like, wow, how phenomenal is this? One thing I like to say is coming into physical balance through practice is something that is very helpful and beneficial on sustaining these kinds of things until you hit certain points of transcendental energy when you open the hollow bone enough, because eventually you open your energy so much to where it's oscillating on itself so well to where now your physical body's no longer working. But you have to get that energy moving. So eventually the energy will move so strongly to where your body is not moving itself based on physical energy alone, or really it will be perceived that maybe there's not even a physical energy occurring. Now that is when you're very open, when you're very much moving energy through you. And this is something that can be very difficult to do, very hard to do. This is going to take a lot of different breaking downs of the limitations of the mind. This is something that I myself am coming deeper and deeper into every day, and eventually will come to a place where I'll be able to show this on a videotape just like this or within the realms of reality. And a lot of the times I have shown this within the realms of reality, but in this kind of a form or fashion to where I'm able to bring it through in a really amazing way. And surely this will then be accompanied by song and dance, as when the voice works with everything, it adds a lot of energy. So Yosha, when you come in with the voice, it brings so much energy through this amazing tuning fork that is your body, that it just allows so much more powerful and fluid motion. I don't know if you've ever noticed people like making noises while they're doing martial arts to give themselves more power, or using their breath, because it really does work. It really does move a lot of energy and give you a lot more force and fashion. People haven't really understood why this is exactly. I don't think anybody's really explained it scientifically. I've never seen somebody do that. They just simply say it does work. Well, it does work because it's a literal energy that's moving through. And so the breath is the most powerful energy you have to work with at this time. It moves the fire, it brews the fire, it brews it all, it moves it all. It's an amazing, wonderful thing. I remember thinking or hearing about Chinese astrology, or the elements within the Chinese zodiac, or the Chinese tradition. And they say that there's 4 elements, and that the 5th element was breath, was air, and that element was actually all of the elements in one. And I really love that perception of it. I really love that Chinese traditional music brought me into the qigong, into the motion of the body in such a way that allowed me to see that I knew Tai Chi, that I knew Qigong, that I knew Bagua, and that I understood many things. Now, I remember myself fighting before with very fighting style forms. And this was very beautiful. So I went from all kinds of different places before I could finally come into the fluidity of the dance. And that's wonderful. But these are really amazing things in polishing the mirror of your consciousness. And these things can be learned just through surrendering to your heart. Now, I did learn many of these things through just channeling it through. I watched a movie and then I started to move, and I wasn't on psychedelics or anything. I may have been smoking marijuana, but I started to realize that I knew certain things. And so it did not always come from psychedelic medicines, but I did find that with psychedelic medicines, that I could really amplify the teachings and learn them much more quickly. So I brought practice into these ceremonies, where I brought mantra, and I brought mudra, and I brought meditation, and I brought these things into the ceremony, and they rapidly accelerated me. And so with these amazing intentions, these reverences, it brought me into a really heightened state of being, and allowed me to train very real, very authentically, very quickly, very amazingly, and learn myself in a high rate of accelerated action. It's very acceleratory. So yes. I learned a lot about the breath, originally breathing in the nose and out the mouth. Now I learned to breathe in the nose and out the nose with the tongue on the roof of the mouth in order to signal to the body that I was in a state of meditation. Now, eventually I had a ceremony where I was brought deep into the universe, and I was brought to these amazing beings of rainbow light, and they were like ships, translucent ships. You could see through them to see the planet behind them, or the star behind them. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think it was a planet. And its wings were waving like a whale's fins. It was a very beautiful shape, kind of like Star Fox, actually, which is funny. But all made of strands of rainbow light. And as I was staring at this ship, floating in space outside of this planet, eventually, something from this ship, or something from that area, some beings around me, started to send blue light down my esophagus and into my stomach. And my mouth opened wide. And then all I was doing was breathing in my mouth fully. And so a lot of the teachings that have come through different DMT ceremony have all been purely using the mouth to breathe. And sometimes within my flow, I do use the nose, and it does come in to use the nose in and use the nose out. But a lot of it has to do with the mouth and the way that the mouth is able to move, widen and open, the different things that the mouth could do when breathing in. I can control a lot more where the breath is going. I can breathe over here, I can breathe over here, I can breathe over there, I can breathe over there, I can breathe here, 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 here. All because my breath can take it in a certain way and cause it to oscillate in certain ways that brings it to certain different points. And so I can oscillate on any different point in my body when I'm fully in my practice, fully in the surrender to the motions, fully in the physical attributes necessary to allow these things to come through, when I'm fully there. Now this is possible, and this just takes practice and flow, surrender in a certain manner. It may be something that needs to happen for us to go very slow. It's not to harm the body in any way, shape, or form. Something to do every day, from the beginning of waking up to the time that we go to bed, or as much as what we're able to do in any given time. Maybe the flow calls us to do many things, and that's okay. I had noticed when I was doing this that many things wanted to happen, but I would rather have done this, and so I didn't allow a lot of things to happen. But of course that did kind of damage the flow of what seemed like certain relationships, but that was all perfection as well, as those relationships would have been superficial anyway. But I started to notice people more like thoughts. And I started to notice the world as a place of meditation in a much deeper way. That, oh, all of these things will try to distract me in some manner from progressing in a certain way. But if I don't allow them to distract me, if I just let them pass by like I would thoughts without giving them any attention, then I can stay continued in what I'm doing. And then I would see what would happen when they left, and I decided, oh no, I have to think about that. Is it okay if it left? And now I can be much more sustainable. There may be somebody that comes up to me while I'm in a flow that I can't break out of, yelling at me, trying to get me to stop, threatening me with violence, and I could just stay completely peaceful without noticing it and just allowing it to just pass by. I mean, I guess I could notice it, but I could just allow it to pass by and continue completely present with myself, or I could respond to it. And who knows, which one's the better decision. Only can we know through experiencing, like, okay, fine, I'll respond to this, or I won't. Whenever I'm in a deep flow and I respond to something immediately, it feels like it screws up that flow and screws up my energy body, and that is a possibility of happening constantly. So seeing that it could happen like every second almost, you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to try the other thing, which is not respond to it. And when you start to do that, you're like, whoa, that really helped my energy body out in a big way. Now I didn't respond to it, and now I'm able to really accelerate this energy huge. And it turns out that I didn't actually care about that other person. I was completely in what I was doing. I was completely content with what I was doing. I wasn't trying to talk to anybody. I don't know why they were trying to talk to me. I mean, it's obvious that I'm very busy doing something. But, that was kind of disrespectful, as it turns out, of them to not be able to notice that, hey, this guy over here is very, very busy. This person is practicing something that is important to them. Let me just go and say hi. That's what they were all they were trying to do. Hey, you want to smoke a bowl? You want to sit and talk to me about absolutely nothing? Something that is purely illusory and just sustained suffering? It's like, no, I'm completely good, thank you. If you want to talk about something that's important, we can do that. I guess, this thing that you want to talk about is important to you in this moment. I see other things to be important. Let's talk about, your consciousness. Let's do that. At that time, I wasn't able to do that, so perhaps I could do that now. But I'm very happy that I'm in a place where people do not disturb me anymore while I'm within the realms of my flow. They don't come up to me typically. They still might be able to do that, but that would be another thing in the meditation of life to show how easily distracted I can get, or any amount of other teaching. I'm open to learning more, absolutely, every day. Seeing if I've become better to where I can weave these things in a beautiful fashion, because I'm very rigid then. Very rigid. I'm much less rigid now, and as you can see, because I'm able to speak to you. This is something that I was unable to do before. I could not continue a balanced flow while speaking. I did not understand how to make that work, but I had a lot of judgment when it came to what I was saying and how I was saying, what would come through, so I had to monitor myself in a big way. Is this something that's intelligent? Is this something that's worth being said? What's going on with it? There's a couple times within the realms of this conversation where I was like slowing down a little bit, and then I began to feel like I had stumbled on something I'd said, but hey, I just had to continue with it, because all you can do is continue from the place that you are within the now moment. You can try to backtrack all you want, but that's going to clog you up. I recommend just moving forward from wherever you're at. And if you feel the need while moving forward to take extra attention to the fact that you had to move forward in that way, you can always, mention it. Apologize if you feel the need to, or whatever it is. Oh, sorry about that. I kind of lost the flow of that channel that was coming through me. Because all we really are antennas. So we're just, receiving information, being transceivers of information, and we're just, moving it through us and moving it out of us, and we're channeling that information for other things to come by. So each and every one of us are doing that same thing, none of us being anybody at all, just being empty, limitless vessels of expression. And so we can all do that together, and we can all observe it together, and then we can all laugh together, like, wow, that was cool, you did something really awesome there. Hey, wow, that was cool, I did something really awesome there. Wow, that was cool, what's going on here? And somehow it's moving all the celestial bodies, it's moving everything entirely, and it's benefiting all beings. And it's a really amazing unity and surrender to such unity. And what an amazing, phenomenal thing. Me, myself, I am super excited about it, super happy with it, and just really great in feeling this with you now today. So these are really amazing and important things that I bring through today, and I hope that this finds you well, and that this is something that you find to be kind of helpful on your path in some manner, shape, or form. And later on, I would like to bring you even more teachings, even more understandings, even more energy flows and mudras and all these things, and just kind of understanding them. There's no reason for me to try to teach you a mudra, because I don't really know many mudras. I know a couple mudras, two of them. Two of them came through in a way that I was able to say in words and fashions. And those were really cool mudras, really great. I'll show you one now. Really amazing. This is one that not everybody can do, actually. Not everybody has the thumbs to make this happen. My soul family knows that. And it's the marrying of yourself, It shows you a lot. The hands, they can tell you your whole life. Isn't it amazing? Anyways. Yeah. Marrying my Kundalini. The flame. 9 points. Yee! Beginning and the end. I used to use these to balance my energies. I take them like this, and I bring them together like this, and I breathe into them. After I get my energy all crazy, I'd breathe into them and bring them back to normal. Now I'm always balanced, always balanced whenever I'm right here in the now. This is wonderful. I don't move any kind of weird, hard fashion that causes me to have to go like, whoa, let me rebalance myself. I can fall off balance, absolutely, when my mind gets that way or that way or that way or any of the ways. Yeah. When I think about something for just 1 second, just the tiniest second, because at this point of balance, thoughts have weight. Thoughts have weight. And they always have weight. It's a thought that brings you anywhere you go. It's pulling you that way. You're like falling towards it. And it's beautiful. But we can start to see these things, become more mindful, and see why we're getting pulled to all these different places. And all of it's perfect. It's just leading us somewhere. I love you all very dearly. Thank you very much for everything. Loving you always and forever. Aloha. Yee!